Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the Uckfield Business Podcast. I'm Claire Allen and my co-host here is Chris Dowling. We're bringing you... Hi, Chris. We're bringing you the podcast from Uckfield Chamber, supporting this podcast today via the Uckfield Business Forum Facebook page. So hopefully some of you have found us today. I have no idea who's out there, if anybody's listening to us at the moment. If you are, it'd be lovely to hear from you. Just let us know who you are, what your name is, what your business is, what you're doing, and if you've got any questions for us, that'd be great. It's just Chris and I today. Normally we would have Ian Noble with us, the Chamber Secretary, and Gary King also, who is the Chamber President, and probably everybody knows him from the Ashdown Radio. Unfortunately, Ashdown Radio had a lightning strike in the storms the other day, and it's I don't know whether it's taken the actual station out, but I know Gary's having to deal with engineers fixing things today, so he's unable to be with us, sadly, because normally he's the font of all knowledge in Uckfield.
Absolutely, yes, quite. Yeah. We're less without him.
Yeah, so it's Chris and I struggling through today, hoping to bring you some at least small bits of interesting information. So we do have a special guest who we'll be speaking to a little bit later, Chris Thorne, Managing Director of CJ Thorne & Co. I'm sure everybody's heard of that company. There can't be anybody in Uckfield that doesn't know CJ Thornes. And we'll be having a good old chat to him later, find out more about the business and what they get up to there. But yes, we'd love to hear from you. If you're out there, if you're listening, just drop us a line, and so we can say hi to you and you can say hi to us. I think first probably we'll just give you some Uckfield Chamber news. Chris, I think we've got some events to run through.
Yes.
We've got some news, business news. I'll tell you what, I'll kick off with the business news first. News is from Gary King, who can't be with us. Ashdown Radio are running their annual business expo, business expo, which I believe is, Gary, Chris, have you got the date?
Thursday, 6th of July.
Thursday, 6th of July at the Civic Centre between 10 and 3, I believe. Lots and lots of local businesses will be exhibiting there, and they'll be wanting members of public to pop in, drop in, say hi, go and have a chat, find out what's going on in Uckfield, because we do have a wonderfully vibrant business scene here, if you haven't noticed already. Traders from the high street, traders from the industrial estates, also consultants, business to business people there as well. So a whole range of interesting people to talk to. We just heard that the interest rates have gone up by 0.5%, which is a bit of, well, not unexpected, I guess, but a bit of a bombshell, really, for a lot of people, with news that there may be further increases, which is quite scary. I'm sure for those of you with mortgages and loans and things, very worrying times. No doubt we'll be talking more about that in forthcoming meetings, I'm sure. What else is going on? We hear there's a new business about to open in town. We've had the spies on the streets. We're trying to find out a bit more as we speak. But apparently a new hardware store is opening at the top end of town in the old Camson's pharmacy unit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think a hardware store will be very welcome. I know we've got green DIY here, but I'm hopeful they'll have a different set of or different demographic maybe they're aiming at.
I think it'll be good for the high street to have that, to have more diversity, to further sort of expand the range we have in the high street. So I think it's sort of very much watch that space and see who starts up there. We've heard rumours, but we can't work on rumours. But it sounds very interesting. So it's a good one.
Well, it'd be good to welcome them in as well. I'm sure Ian will be up there banging on their door, asking them to become members of the chamber. And if they do, they might be able to come and talk about their business here on the podcast. So that would be
an idea. Why not? Yes.
Yeah. And to be honest, that goes out to all businesses. Actually, all members of the chamber are very welcome to come and give us a little intro to their businesses live here on our podcast in the future. Also to talk about specialist topics. If you've got something that you have that might be of interest to other local businesses, it'd be really interesting to hear from you.
Yeah, we're always looking for guest interviewees to come along and tell us what they're doing, what they're about, what they contribute to the community in Uckfield. And if they're watching, hopefully they're watching today, they can see our guest today, what he talks about and what he does, and perhaps model and style it on his, no doubt, very good performance we will see shortly.
Yes. Yeah, so lots, is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else. I'm sorry, just running through my list here of anything else I've got to talk about. I don't think there's any other particular news that we've got to impart at the moment. So on that note, I think
we're going to talk more about Uckfield Chamber events later in the podcast, aren't we? So a little more detail on that in a few minutes, in a 15-20 minutes time. That's fine. Right. Okay. Here we go.
About the chamber. Yeah. Okay. So so we're going to now introduce Chris Thorne. In case anybody doesn't know him, Mr. Uckfield, whose name CJ Thornes are plastered absolutely everywhere you go in Uckfield. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you.
We've had a little chat beforehand, so yeah, we fascinating business. It's a lovely, long-standing family business, been based in Uckfield for many years. Really interesting to hear about your history. What is it you do? I'm sure not everybody necessarily knows what you do, other than seeing you in events, basically supporting events locally mostly, I think. But you do have a day job, obviously, and it'd be lovely to hear about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, essentially the company is civil engineering contractor. So what does that mean? We're effectively divided into three divisions of what we do. There's CJ Thorne & Co., which is the main name around Uckfield. We're sort of heavy civil engineering, large earthworks, reinforced concrete structures, bridges, retaining walls, that sort of thing. Deep pipelines, coastal defences, sort of that kind of thing, largely associated with the water industry, local authority work, and as I say, sort of coastal, large industrial clients we work for from time to time. And as I say, the company's made up of three divisions. The second company is one called Hobart Paving and Civil Engineering, based over in Horsham, which is in fact where I'm talking to you from. They're sort of more lighter civils. Thornes is sort of above or below, sort of 10 metres above or below the ground. Hobart is more a couple of metres above or below, so more sort of groundworks, what people think of as groundworks, roadworks, drainage, hard landscaping and surfacing, and that sort of thing. And the third element of the business is a plant hire element, which is predominantly tarmac paving machines. So we hire our paving machines complete with operators out to companies who are doing road surfacing and that sort of thing. So very much complementary elements to the business, and that's how we've tried to evolve it.
So. Okay, can you tell us a bit about the history of the business? I know it's been in Uckfield for quite a long time, but perhaps you could tell us how it started and where it started and when it started, please.
Yeah, I mean, it started in 1939. My grandfather was invalided out of the Second World War, having taken a small part towards the end of the First World War. And he bought a two-lorry haulage company that was based in Eastbourne to help with the war effort, transporting materials and food and what have you from place to place, and that was predominantly what he did during the Second World War. And then his two younger brothers, both of whom who served, one was a civil engineer, one was a mechanical engineer. They came out, were looking for work in 1945, and so they between them developed the business from what was initially then a maintenance depot for vehicles and plant. And expanded into earth moving with contracts for local councils building playing fields, which was all the rage in those days. I think in the last 20 or 30 years they've probably built schools on those playing fields. But that was our sort of main intro into that form of civil engineering. And so to do that, my grandfather was a wheeler dealer, entrepreneur. He's very much someone who couldn't really work for anybody else, which was probably why he set up his own business. And he would go to auctions and buy ex-war department, so Ministry of Defence now, he'd buy their equipment, things like bulldozers and excavators. And at one of those auctions, an interesting sort of diversion from the company history, but it's formed an important part of it ultimately. He met a producer from Ealing Studios who was making the film Scott of the Antarctic. And he wanted something that he could convert to mimic the snow sledge that Scott used, and that's it on the left-hand side of that photo. My grandfather just said, "Well, that Bren gun carrier over there could possibly be converted, and we'll go with that." So, and that's what he did, and that's where the company first moved before it moved to our current location in Uckfield. That's in Fairwarp. It's actually where my dad lives now, not particularly in that office building, but in the house alongside. It's an old farm, and so much of the firm's early development took place there. But the picture of my grandfather sitting on a tank on the right there, that was just further development of the association with the film industry, and it became a bit of a hobby for him. So two brothers were running the engineering side, and he kept investing in these tanks. In fact, when I used to go and visit, when unfortunately he died when I was 4 or 5, but I used to go up to his house to see him. I thought it was perfectly normal for one's grandfather to have 3 or 4 armored tanks in the garden, which were left over from the filming days. Yes. There were other films that they were involved with. There was The Heroes of Telemark, Dunkirk, and Ice Cold in Alex, which starts.
That's a picture from Ice Cold in Alex. So
that is, yeah, and
yes, which is often on TV. It was on a month or 2 back. So with John Mills.
It is an absolute classic, and John Mills there, along with his lady friend and a couple of others, heroically trying to push that ambulance up over the sandbank. In fact, my great uncle Frank is sitting the other side of the sandbank with a very large winch, pulling it up and hauling it over the top. So
there was more pulling than pushing then. So
very much so. But it was. I think it just comes back to the sort of thing my grandfather got involved in. It was pretty tough times post-war, and but for the sort of budding entrepreneur, there was opportunity if you were prepared to give anything a go, and he had that can do attitude, which was give me the work and I'll find the men to do it, which was very much the ethos of the company.
Yeah, very
so.
Very
The next phase of the company's development, my father, who trained as a civil engineer and worked abroad in South Africa for a period, he joined in 1961. And for the first time around then, the company moved into the water industry, but primarily the dirty water side at that stage, the sewage treatment. So it's usually a conversation stopper, so it's probably quite good. This is a monologue. And that was the water authorities didn't exist at the time, so it was the local district councils that would allocate that work, and obviously a lot of, as there is to this day, a lot of constant updating of sewage treatment, as there is on the clean water side. So my grandfather, as I said, he died when I was very young. He died in 1971. He and with sort of a couple of great uncles nearing retirement, my father had to recruit and rebuild, and so the 70s was a period of consolidation and getting more people into the company. He was the only one of his generation who came in. There were various cousins, but none really showed an interest in the business.
Yeah. Nowadays, do other members of the family work in the business, or are you the only Thorne there now?
I'm the only Thorne by birth. My wife Karen, who may well be listening, she's a chartered accountant. She's been with the business since 1999.
Right. Yes.
So and she's the one who keeps us on the straight and narrow financially.
She's the financial director nowadays.
She doesn't hold them.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
You earn the money, she checks the money. So
something along those lines, yeah. Absolutely. So mid-1980s, we expanded into the clean water side. So clean water treatment was something we hadn't really got involved in. Very similar elements of work, whether that be sort of reinforced concrete or the pipelines that I talked about earlier. We basically took over the assets of a company where the founding director was retiring, and in fact the last remaining member of staff from that acquisition in the mid-80s is our current chairman, Jim Fraser. So we do sort of thrive on the longevity of our staff, and which hopefully says something good about the company.
Absolutely, yes.
That picture has a sort of couple of photos of sewage treatment works at the top, and then there's a potable water treatment works on the right hand side, with quite the extensive array of pipe work that comes in between the concrete structures. That's a series of 7 filters in that building, which keep the water supply in South Croydon in that instance clean and tidy. So it was a major contract we did about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about local projects you've worked on. I think in the bottom left, that looks like Sheffield Park to me.
So bottom left is Sheffield Park Gardens. Yeah, that was
on our doorstep.
We reconstructed the cascade there in about 2003-04, and because it had completely collapsed between the upper Woman's Way pond and the lower Woman's Way pond, and they needed obviously to be able to control the water and the flows. So that was a design and build, won an award from the Sussex Heritage Trust for the work that we did there.
Yeah. Other local projects you've worked on, which perhaps you can tell us about, in the Uckfield area in East Sussex?
Yeah, I mean, Uckfield, we probably early 1990s, we worked on Uckfield sewage treatment works, which was quite a small works at the time, but with the building of the Uckfield bypass and the obvious plans to redevelop the residential side and the industrial side of the town, the sewage works needed expanding, and we won what was a £3.5 million contract in 1989-90. So quite a lot more money than today to fully redevelop that. More recently, we've had what was quite a painful project for UK Power Networks, reinforcing the power supplies to the Richwood Farm development, and then just after Christmas we did the repaving of the Uckfield High Street between Boots, or that junction, and the bus station. And there's a further phase of that to come.
Oh, is there? Yeah. Oh, do we need to be aware of that?
Well, it's all around the bus station, so I'm hoping there's less impact on traffic.
Yeah. Not your fault,
went
obviously.
Pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
It all went pretty smoothly. Some people said, did barely notice you were doing it, so that was good feedback.
Yeah, we had some quite positive feedback from the town council, which was
there
nice.
We are. Yes.
So kind of moving forward to more recent contracts, there's some photos there of a project we did in Brighton and Hove. The seafront arches there that they have on the lower promenade actually go right back to the A259, the main seafront road. But because they were built by the Victorians and very well built in the 1850s and thereafter. There's a limited lifespan in that very, very harsh marine environment. So we won the contract as part of our term framework contract with Brighton and Hove City Council to take those down and rebuild them, but in the Victorian style. And so that was a fascinating project, and one of the best things we've done in the last 10 years. Really, really interesting to watch that evolve, and structurally very challenging. You've got 30,000 vehicles a day going along the A259, and whilst we were taking those arches down, we were obviously affecting the structural integrity of the road, so that we had to reinforce that, which is a very interesting project.
Quite a task then. So yes, yeah.
Amazing, yeah. So what's happening now then? How many projects do you generally have on the go at any one time, Chris?
Well, probably around 20 to 25 projects, but they can be anything from a couple of days' work to sort of 18 months' work. So we tend to have a sort of core framework of 2 or 3 jobs, which are in the sort of 8 months to a year and a half, and then everything else kind of fits in around that, and that's how we try and structure it. Doesn't always come at the right moments. We had quite a quiet May after a very busy 15 months, and so we did do a bit of weeding in the yard and a bit of housework around the yard, and now we're short of people, short of resources for next week. So it's
really difficult to manage, isn't it? That many projects on the go.
Feast and famine, and that all happened just because there were 1 or 2 issues with contracts we'd been awarded, were planned to start in May, and then they just got delayed starts for design issues or planning issues in one case, but. And then it comes back again.
I'm guessing that's the kind of nature of your business, though. So anything in construction is just constantly moving, isn't it? Deadlines never get met. Start dates never really manifest themselves.
We tend to be at the bottom end of the food chain after all the sort of planners and ecologists and designers have had their say, and we find that the end date hasn't changed, even though the start date's gone back a year. Which is sometimes challenging.
Yeah, the heat is on. Then the pressure is at its most intense when it gets to you. Then,
yes, unfortunately so. It's just the way it is.
Yes. I was going to ask you about, as a large local business, I've been in Uckfield for over 80 years. The people you employ, are they mostly Uckfield people? What sort of numbers are there of Uckfield people? I come across people who say to me, I work for Thornes, I've worked for Thornes. What are your numbers like with Uckfield and Uckfield area people?
So I mean, across the group, across the 3 divisions, we've got about 95 people, all directly employed at the moment. Probably fewer than at any time since I've been involved, which is the last 29 years. Actually, directly come from Uckfield, but I'd imagine there's, I'd say 15 to 20 from the Uckfield and surrounding areas.
Yeah, so about a fifth then. About fifth.
Roughly 20%. Yeah. So but the rest are sort of Kent, Sussex, Surrey based, but the predominance is Sussex based.
Yeah, and you did say that staff do tend to stay for a long time. How long has your longest serving member of staff been with the company?
So that's one of our contracts directors. He's semi-retired now, should be fully retired. I won't tell you how old he is. I'll leave you to do the maths. He joined us in 1971.
52 years ago. So how about, is that 50? Yeah, 52 years.
52 years ago. And it wasn't his first job, and he had gone through university. So he's in his late 70s now. I think I can say that much. He's still actively involved. He comes in a couple of days a week and is helping us out pricing stuff. I have to occasionally remind him of the prices in the 21st century, which is a joke we share. And he was actually, Claire and I were at a quiz night last night at the Highlands, and Bob was in my quiz team.
Oh, there we are. Good.
And we do like to try and sort of make everyone feel as though they're part of the family. Yes, it is a family firm, but and we tend to, historically, we've tended to pick up not just good local people, but then it's their brother or their son or their nephew or cousin, and so we do have significant father-son combinations still within the business.
Yes.
Which is like a training or apprenticeship schemes going on. I mean, you must be needing to. I mean, is recruitment a problem in your industry? I know it certainly is in ours, but
recruitment is a massive problem in construction. I've got to be honest, and not making any kind of political statement. Brexit has not helped with the dearth of remaining Eastern Europeans, who are a big factor in the construction industry, and then the major draw that big projects like initially Crossrail, now HS2, have on all the skilled resource, and they pay a lot of money. And we have probably the last generation to not be taught how to use a computer when I was at school, and kids today grow up using the computers. They grow up gaming and doing all the other things they do. Not many of them have a vision for coming out and on site and laying pipes and building concrete footpaths, and so they're fewer and further between, and they want a lot of money, and that again fuels the inflation which the Chancellor is today trying to curb with his interest rates. But I don't have a solution to it yet. We do spend an awful lot of money on training. Around 120,000 a year, so that's well over £1,000 per person, and we do run a couple of apprenticeships. We have our workshops is a key area for that. We have a little bit of a problem out on site because a number of our clients are restrictive over youngsters coming into the industry. They talk a good talk, but then when you say, well, I've got this 16-year-old, and they don't want to know, they don't want them on site.
Is that purely for health and safety reasons, or just a lack of experience type thing?
It's health and safety. That's all it is. So they've got to get their experience somewhere. So the challenge we have is to train them off-site and then bring them onto site and give them the opportunity. We have one apprentice currently in the workshop. We have an engineer who, in fact, he's just completed his degree qualification, which we sponsored him through for 5 years. We're supporting our commercial manager through his quantity surveying degree, so we do what we can and where it fits.
It's good to hear you do that. To provide that training, provide those opportunities. It's not just the job opportunities; it's for them to obtain skills and develop skills, hopefully for your business, but across your industry as well. So that's very positive. And I know it comes with cost as well.
Yeah, and the challenge we have now is, as I said, we've got all these long-term employees who are worth their weight in gold, but the younger generation want to do 2 or 3 years here, 5 years there, and keep moving, and because that tends to attract more money. So it takes quite a special sort of person to invest themselves totally in the company and see the vision and understand what we're trying to do and why a long-term future with Thornes is a good one.
Yes, yeah, difficult one to convince them. Perhaps we can just move on to the support you provide to the community in Uckfield. Your corporate social responsibility, your CSR. I think we're probably all aware of the Christmas tree that always looks so good in the high street at Christmas time. We've got some pictures there of other events that you support and sponsor. Perhaps you could just take us through them and just give us the wide picture on the very good support that Thornes give to Uckfield and to the community in Uckfield.
Yeah, I mean, we like anything that raises funds for a good cause, and if it's something we can take part in, then that's great. The top left picture there is a Rounders Day where my team won, which was fantastic, and that was raising money for Chailey Heritage, which is a big part of our fundraising, has been for many years. The shot in the middle was actually a job Chailey Heritage paid us to do. I can't claim that we did that voluntarily. But we do it when we work for local charities. We do it on relatively tight margins to try and help them, because they are very, very dependent on external fundraising. They don't get a lot in terms of grants. Got a picture of the Christmas tree there, I see. Other things, that's an awards sponsorship in the bottom left. I think we were winning awards as well on that day. And then the Wolf Run, that was an amazing experience. They've only done it once in Sussex. It still goes on in the Midlands, but they did it up at Pickford Park, 10-kilometre run with obstacles.
Oh.
That was amazing, and and that was again a fundraiser for our own charities that year. I forget which they were. I imagine Chailey was one of them. And the bottom right is obviously the Uckfield Bonfire Society Carnival procession. We do a lot with the Bonfire Society, with the supplying vehicles for them. We tend usually to have at least one lorry in the parade in the carnival, used either by the rugby club or one of the local schools. This year it's been booked by the Girl Guides, which is which is nice. So looking forward to doing that. But away from that and sort of more recent things that we've done, we've got quite heavily involved with the Uckfield Community Fridge. I had to confess I didn't have a clue what a community fridge was when Amy approached me, and they were looking for a container to have as their fridge. They were getting quoted quite high numbers, and we used our contacts within the construction industry to secure a nearly new one for them, which they currently use, which is good. And then we prepared the area and constructed the concrete base hard standing area for them. Just as a gesture to the community. There was no charge for any of that work.
That's amazing work. I know
another good example. Brilliant.
There can't be an event or an organisation that you haven't sort of been involved in over the years, I'm sure. I mean, it's I'm just amazed at all the things you get into. I mean, I know you also support the late night shopping event every year, don't you, with lorries and things?
We do. We do the road closure and all of that, which is it's
and the Uckfield Business Awards, principal sponsor of the Uckfield Business Awards, which is a big project for the Chamber organisers and for the local business community. CJ Thorne very much at the heart of that, which is great as well. So.
And later this year we've got the community awards organised
as well. Yes,
of course, So do all your team actively get involved in all these projects? Do you encourage them, or do they willingly participate?
Yes, some need a little bit of a carrot to persuade them, but the lorry drivers are absolutely amazing. They always do these do the carnival parades for no cost. And in fact, we recently did Eastbourne Carnival end of last month, which was supporting Children with Cancer Fund, which was one of our charities last year, and they asked us if we would do it, and that was an amazing event. And so it's lovely to be part of not just the local Uckfield community, but the wider community across Sussex as well.
Well, I did bump into you last night, didn't I, at the local charity quiz at the local pub with some of your team, plying them with alcohol is the way forward.
I think we have to widen our perspective in terms of what we do for fundraising, because it's either quiz nights or it's running. And as a fat bloke in his mid-50s, I'm not very good at running, and I don't really enjoy it. But we did a 5K one again I think it was beginning of May. It was a Chailey Heritage organised event, but so we raised a bit of money for Chailey, and then the rest of we encouraged the rest of the firm and friends to support our charities for the year, which are cancer research, which is the one chosen by the directors, and then one voted for the employees, which is the Kent, Sussex and Surrey Ambulance Service.
Brilliant. I was going to ask you how you chose your charity. So you change charities every year, do you? Do you support 2 a year, or?
Well, we have 2 primary ones that we support, and we set up Just Giving pages for them. And but we're not limited to that. We do. If someone says, we're doing something for Chailey Heritage, we'll do that. And there's a new one to us this year. There's an event in September for a charity I wasn't aware of until earlier this year called Baby to Baby, which is supporting young people, disadvantaged young people in Sussex. And I've got to be honest, they've got a black tie-do on. We like a night out, and we're pleased to sponsor it as well, and to obviously assist the charity.
No, it's amazing. You honestly, you are leading the way, I think, in Uckfield. I hope more businesses see this, or business owners see this, and see just what you can do to support the local community. Really, I mean, in all sorts of different ways. It doesn't have to be charities. There's tons of things you can do.
Yeah, the value of what you do and the importance of what you do as well. So to make Uckfield tick. I mean, Uckfield does tick very well. Uckfield does work very well, but it's your involvement and the involvement of others just adds real value to it. So that sort of leadership, that sort of principal role that Thornes have is a fantastic example to other businesses in the town, and to see the benefits and to see the advantages that it delivers.
It's nice being able to offer it. Yeah, it's not just about throwing money at things. And I like to get my guys engaged in these things. Uckfield Rugby Club, I'm a director of the club. I have a strong involvement with, having played there for 10 or 15 years, and then coached for another 10. But the music festival event they had at the weekend, Scrumfest, was an amazing effort by everybody involved in that. We supplied all the fencing to go around the outside to sort of keep it secure, and that was just, again, an opportunity. It's something we can do. Yes, it costs us in terms of paying the labour to do it, but it's just nice to be able to give something back.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really impressive.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
So what's the future? What
about the future, Chris? What's next? What about your children? Are you bringing them through the business? Are they going to be MDs in the next 20 years?
Gotta be careful what I say here. No, I mean, I think each cycle within our industry involves a period of further consolidation of our position in our existing markets, and a sort of to re-establish a focus on business development, both within those sectors and in the complementary sectors where we see opportunity. Clearly, keeping our existing client base happy is the biggest driver. But I talked a little bit earlier about the acquisition of complementary businesses, so the Hobart Paving, where I am today, and JPH Surfacing, which is the paver hire company. What we've been able to do more and more, and what we're trying to push in terms of the development of that side of the business is the one-stop shop. So a couple of years ago, the first major opportunity for that was a job at Reigate Hill, where on one side there was a reinforced concrete wall which was failing, and there's quite a steep drop off there, and so we got involved in the design and build job for the replacement of that. But then whilst we were there and you had the partial road closure, I said, well, look, your road's quite worn, why don't we resurface it? And so we were able to use all 3 elements of the company on the same job, and we've managed to repeat that 3 or 4 times since. It's a slow burn, but that's an obvious opportunity for us to develop and grow a little bit further. Claire, you asked about family and that sort of thing. Obviously, it's just me and Karen in the business at the moment. My father, he'll never admit he's retired. He still comes in and keeps a beady eye on the finances and just checks we're not doing anything we shouldn't. But realistically, my kids, age 23 and 26, one's a doctor, one has just qualified in law and is working in criminal law at the moment. So neither looking likely to come into the business. And so part of the major investment has been in developing the next generation. We're certainly not ageist when we recruit. I will put my hand up and say I've recruited 2 people in the last 8 months who are in their 60s. But equally, I have an eye to the future on developing the management structure so that we do have some very good people in their 20s and early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, who I believe are the future management of the business. And it's just about preparing them and showing them the pathway. And trying to persuade them to stay with the business, which I think we have in hand.
Amazing. Really, really, it's brilliant to hear of a successful local business, you know, and I hear the whole history. And I'm always fascinated about the inner workings of businesses, how they're organised and so on, and how they're going to, you know, what the future is and how they're going to develop. It's fascinating. But thank you for that, Chris. Really, really lovely story. I don't know if anybody in Uckfield or many people in Uckfield know the full story. They just see your red and white vans driving around all over the place.
That's what we do when things are quiet. We just send the vans out.
Look busy.
Free advertising. Chris, is there anything, or Chris Dowling, should I say? Got the 2 Chris's here today. Is there anything else you'd like to grill Chris on?
Chris to Chris. It's been very interesting. Just want to thank you for your time and thank you for taking us through it. And I think we've all learned more about CJ Thorne, more about what you do. I hope our audience have developed their knowledge as well about a very important local business that is key to Uckfield. It's fundamental to Uckfield and it's part of Uckfield's history. So I think it's congratulations to Thornes for everything you do, Chris. I know you're a fellow member of the Chamber of Commerce Committee. I know the other things you do in the town. I'm sure it's well recognised. I'm hoping today's interview will give you even greater recognition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks very much for having me on. It was a great opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Great.
Fantastic. Okay. So, Chris, we're going to move on to other chamber things. So we're going to talk about chamber events coming up. So for those of you that aren't yet members of the chamber, we're always looking for new members. We currently have around 200 businesses and business owners that are members of the chamber. We run all sorts of events, which Chris is going to talk you through in a moment. But not only that, we do plenty of business support. You know, you've got a lovely new podcast forum now. So anybody that's a member can come on and have a chat about their business. Just contact one of us. We've got a fantastic website you can contact us through. So Chris, talk us through the next event.
Here we go. Yes, there's a number of events coming up in the next few weeks, which we want to just highlight. We did mention the Business Expo on the 6th of July, but the day before that, on Wednesday the 5th, we got the next of our virtual networking events, which are proving to be very popular. They are well supported, open to members and non-members, stress non-members. Ian Noble, who we understand is sailing somewhere around Iceland at present. He may well be online, but I think he already looking where he's going rather than perhaps looking at this. Ian can provide you with a link to the event. It's 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We usually get something between about 20 or so people coming along, opportunity to talk about your business, opportunity to promote your business, opportunity to hear what other businesses in the town and the local area are doing. And I stress it's open to non-members as well as members. So please do look out for that on Wednesday, the 5th of July. To repeat, on Thursday the 6th, the following day, we've got the Business Expo, which had Gary been here, I'm sure he would have talked about and would have given some information on. It's being organised by Ashdown Radio. It's at the Uckfield Civic Centre. There's a picture of the Uckfield Civic Centre there. It's at 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. I understand all the stands have been sold, so I believe and understand there's a full house. But please do come along to talk to the stand holders, to talk to businesses there, to come and network, to take the opportunity to learn more and find out more about the businesses in Uckfield, perhaps look for some services as well, and talk to local people and talk to local business people, and hopefully make use of their services, make some inquiries. It's been, this is, I think, is the 6th or 7th year this event has run. It's proved to be popular, proved to be successful, but come along and see it for yourselves, and do take part. I think it's free of charge as well. So that's fine. And then perhaps moving on again, the following week, we've got, this is the summer members meeting. This is for members of the chamber. Also, anyone who's thinking about joining the chamber, opportunity to come along and see what we're about. Come and meet us. See, we won't eat you. We won't. We encourage you rather than put you off. But on Thursday, the 13th of July, the members' meeting is being held at the Bluebell Vineyard at Danehill, just off the A275. Fantastic venue for a summer's evening. Looking for a very good attendance. Food will be provided. Tickets are £10 plus booking fee. Please do come along. It's going to be
a particularly good event, isn't it?
Yeah. Very good evening out in the Sussex, in the best of the Sussex countryside, out at Danehill, which I know very well from my past. Do come along, do take part, enjoy the evening, and enjoy sampling some of the Bluebell's award-winning wine as well. They are amongst the best. They're very, very good, and they're chamber members, so therefore good to blow the trumpet for them. But no, do look out for that one. Do come along, 22nd. And then we've got one of our breakfast meetings, one of our in-person breakfast meetings. We alternate these with the virtual meetings. So the next one is on Friday, the 18th of August. It's being held at the Highlands, up at the south end of town, just opposite the CJ Thorne office. So how about that for a coincidence? Again, very good event there, open to members and non-members, £12 plus the booking fee. These events are proving to be very, very popular. Very, very useful, good networking opportunity, good opportunity to talk about your business, meet other business people. We go around the room at these meetings and you get a minute or so to talk about your business, to do your pitch, to tell people who you are, what you're looking for, and to hopefully encourage some inquiries and get to talk to people. I've had some good responses and some good inquiries from it. I hope Claire has as well. I know it works, so do please come along to that event, and you'll get details of all these events on the Chamber website, and you can book through Eventbrite, again through the Chamber website and the information that Ian sends out. So a lot going on over the next 6 or so weeks, 8 weeks. And
not to forget our next podcast.
Yeah, I think we've got that one. Yes.
So next in July 20th, our next podcast. Myself, I think, and Ian are hosting. And we're going to be talking about local high street retailers. So we've got a couple of high street members coming along to talk about their businesses and what's going on in the high street. So hopefully that'll be of interest to everybody.
Yeah, I think Mark Arno from Carville's is already booked. I think we're hoping to get somebody else from retail from a shop to come along and talk with Mark or follow on with Mark. But Mark is known by many, many people in the town, former president of the Chamber as well. So he knows very much what the Chamber does and the good work the Chamber does. So that should be very interesting on Thursday the 20th. Same time, same place.
Fantastic. So on that note, I just want to say thank you to everybody. We have Gordon Manklow in the background as our producer. You won't see his face because he refuses to come on, but he's there. So thank you, Gordon, for your work. Thank you, Chris Thorne, for joining us today. That was absolutely superb interview. And my co-host there, Chris Dowling, thank you. Lovely to see you all. And we'll see you next month.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.